So guys, welcome back to the channel, and we're just going to go through some of the stuff from World's Strongest Man, debrief it, analyze it, go through everything that happened, the ups, the downs, surprises, things like that, because my God, was this probably the most entertaining strongman show I've seen in a long time. So yeah, we're going to go through the events and see what happens. So day one, we had the heats, so day 1 and 2. First up, we had the loading medley. So over here, we had Mitchell Hooper taking the win with 0.01 seconds faster than Pavel Kardiaka, who was 0.1 seconds faster than Tom Sutton. So really tight with the times. Very good, very entertaining to watch. Then, unfortunately, we had two athletes pulling out in that event. We had Evan Singleton and Luke Richardson, both tearing their biceps, lifting some of those sandbags. Real pity for the two of them. I actually had predicted both of them going through the finals, which based on this obviously didn't happen. Evan Singleton, I was very sorry for him because I had him down as a potential threat for the title overall this year. I was thinking I gave him like a 25% chance to actually win it. He honestly looked in training physically the best I'd ever seen him, mentally the best I'd ever seen him. So for him to pull his bicep on the first event was a huge kick in the balls, I'd say. Really sad for him, but I think in terms of his injury, I believe it was a muscle rupture, which means that it's going to heal a lot faster than a tendon rupture. So I think he's going to be competing again in about 8-9 weeks for Giants Life Comp. So yeah, no, he should be back up and running pretty soon. I hope he's in good shape for next year because he really is a threat for the title. He's physically one of the strongest human beings on the planet. He just needs a chance to actually show that properly. So looking forward to that. Then we had the deadlift for reps. So here we had Mitchell Hooper and Tom Stoutman getting 7 reps in an 8-way tie for the third highest amount of reps. Followed by that, then you had Paddy Haynes, Ray O'Neill, and Tristan Hoth on a 3-way tie for 8 reps, second highest amount of reps. And then you had Trey Mitchell getting 10 reps. He actually ran out of time for 11 reps. He was on the 11th one, they blew the whistle, which was crazy. Trey just absolutely annihilated everyone on the deadlift, which was really cool to see. And I remember people were actually watching it. I was watching the live stream at the time, and I remember just looking at it, and people were saying like, oh yeah, Trey might get like, 8 reps, whatever. I was like, guys, this is Trey Mitchell we're talking about here. He's going to get a minimum of 9. I'm telling you right now, don't count out Trey on deadlift. He's an absolute monster on deadlift. So that was really cool for Trey taking the overall event win. Unfortunately, here then we had Luke Stoutman. He's back, I believe, went into spasm during this. I think he got 2 reps and his back was just killing him, so he had to leave it there. Then we went on to the overhead medley. Tom taking the win and Mitch coming second, about 2 seconds behind him overall. Then we had the Titans toss, which was one of my favourite events of the heats. Tom went out. He was one of only 2 athletes to get all the 10 bags over the bar, himself and Maxime, taking the overall win, and he was hyped, and I was hyped, and everyone was hyped, and we were just watching, and like he was going around the place, and he was just like, he was on a mission, like, and he knew as well that he had a serious chance of coming in to the finals with that precious 10 points over Mitch. So it was really, really exciting to see, and it really kind of showed Tom kind of coming of age in the sense of, like, I've seen events with Tom, right, where in strongman you have these things, what I call big man events, where if you're taller, if you have longer legs, longer arms, longer levers in general, the event suits you a bit better. Titans Toss was a prime example of this because it's a throwing event, and Tom beating Mitch in this was just kind of, it was a statement. It was a statement to say, like, I'm here this year and I'm not effing about, like, so really exciting to see. I believe Mitch only managed to get 8. Mitch underperformed a little bit on this. To be honest, I expected at least 9 from Mitch. But yeah, so then, like, everyone thought he was going to get 10 going into the finals until the Stone medley happened. So just to go over the Stone medley, Mitch, of all people, well, I wouldn't say of all people, managed to take the win on this event. And Tom only managed to get 2 of the 4 stones, which was a real pity. A few things just didn't go his way. He went out, the first one he lifted up no bother, but I think he hit his chin with the block press on the way up. Then when he finished that, he went over to the stone's shoulder and he was struggling with it a little bit. It was very slippy. He dropped down onto 2 knees and tried picking it up again, but then had to drop it down, pick it up a second time. He eventually got it up to the shoulder, but by then he didn't have time to get the 3rd or 4th stone, which is a real pity. But yeah, so that meant going into the finals, he was now going to be potentially in a lower spot than Mitch. I was surprised after the Titans toss, to be honest, because I thought after Titans toss, that was the one event I thought Mitch could probably get ahead of Tom because he's so just efficient at all those types of events. Stone medley, then I thought, well, I mean, it's Tom Stoltman, like he is the king of the stones, literally. So I thought Mitch would be close to him, but I didn't think he'd beat him. So a bit of a pity, but there we go. That was the heats wrapped up. Also with Matej, he came in, and I think he had a bit of a fever or something, was feeling a bit ill. He underperformed in the loading medley a little bit, not massively, but he really just kind of gave up after that point. I think he came in and tried a few other events. He zeroed on the deadlift, but to be honest, I don't think he really tried because he's definitely capable of 1 or 2 reps at 350 like. And then there was overhead medley. He only got 4 of the 7 reps he needed to get, which was really surprising considering he literally won that event at Europe's. And I don't know, the last 2 events, I don't think he bothered after that point, to be honest. He just kind of called it because he was ill, but he just mentally, he just gave up more than anything. He just knew he needed the points in the loading medley, and when he didn't get him, he knew it was going to be an uphill battle, and he was just like, nah, I'm just not having this. So bit of a pity for Matej because he was looking in great shape there recently. Siberian Power Show and a couple of other shows as well, like Europe's. So I thought he'd be coming in on good form. Unfortunately, he was a bit ill, so that affected him. But yeah, so hopefully he gets a quick recovery from his illness and comes back in good shape for some Giants Live shows. So on to the finals. So starting off the finals, people had their points from 1 to 10 before they did any event. So Mitch came in with 10 points, Tom came in with 9, Ryan O'Neill surprisingly coming in with 8 points, Trey Mitchell coming in with 7, Luke Stoltman coming in with 6, Paddy with 5, Shane Flowers with 4, Andre Faitu with 3, Pablo Cardiaca with 2, and Eddie Williams with 1. So things were pretty tight at the top coming into it between Mitch and Tom. Then we had the Carrion Heist, the first event. Ryan O'Neill, of all people, came through, took the win. Not only took the win, but took the win with a 4-second lead over Tom Stoltman, which was huge. Tom just managed to take the win over Mitch. Came second over Mitch, but I believe, which was like 0.8 of a second or something. And Mitch wasn't third. Now, Tom and Mitch's one was really exciting to see. 2 of them came out against each other, and like when they were going against each other, I believe they got down. They were neck and neck the whole way, and then when it came to the heist part, right, they got right to the end. But because there was only about half a second between them, people weren't 100% sure who actually won it, and they found out with cameras in the end that Tom actually pipped Mitch by a tiny fraction. Which was really cool to see. I actually thought Mitch would win that over Tom. I thought Tom wouldn't even be close on that. I thought Tom would be like 4th or 5th in that event. So for Tom to take second and beat Mitch was really cool. Like Mitch had actually said during that event as well that Tom just like he really took advantage of his longer levers, and every time he was pulling on that rope, he had maybe a couple of extra inches over Mitch every time he pulled it, so that overall helped him to take the win. Come second in that event to beat Mitch. Now, because Reno came first in that event, Tom was second and Mitch was third, that now meant that going into event 2, they would be all tied on points, tied on 18 points. So things are really interesting after that. Just to mention as well, with Shane Flowers, he actually passed out on the first event. He came in doing the Zorch carry, got so far. In his own words, he was running along with no bother. Next thing, he fell down. He doesn't remember falling. He just remembers waking up on the floor. Apparently, he had food poisoning because there was some bit of dodgy chicken or something like that he'd eaten that morning. So he was just kind of trying to mind himself going into the next few events. So yeah, that was Shane's situation. And then we went on to the second event, which was the 18-inch deadlift for max. So Trey went out there, won the event with 500 kilos. Ray O'Neill managed to take second with 490 kilos. Then we had Tom and Mitch, who got caught in a 5-way tie at 465 kilos. Really surprising from Mitch here, considering he'd done 525 in training. I really expected him to get close to the 550 mark, to be honest. His training was looking amazing. I think, to be honest with Mitch in this whole competition, I think his drama and everything outside of that was starting to affect him a bit mentally. I think he was a little bit off his game because of that, which is a bit of a pity to see. There were some events where you think, oh, he's going to absolutely send it, and then he just drops and comes like mid-table, and you're like, this isn't really like the usual Mitch we're used to seeing. So he was caught with Tom in a 5-way tie. Then Luke Stoltman went out. He managed to get the 402, which I believe was the opening weight, and his back just started going into spasm, so he had to just call it then. Bit of a pity for Luke, but the fact that he made the finals, even with the back not serving him, was serious going to him, in fairness. Then we had the Hercules hold, which was a massive upset. Tom came in, only came 8th, Mitch only came 6th, and Reno came 2nd, giving Reno a huge lead over Tom and Mitch, and Eddie Williams taking the win there with a world record on that particular setup with 1 minute and 22 seconds. Then we had the point difference then between Reno and Tom after that. Mitch was 7 points back from Reno, and Tom was 9 points back. So they had a lot of catching up to do. The setup, I will say, was harder than Giants Live from what some of the athletes were saying. Apparently, when they were starting the event, when they were kind of leaving the pressure on the athletes, the implement itself was jolting on them. And if they weren't perfectly kind of in the middle of the, if they weren't distributing their forces evenly, one hand might slip a bit or the other one might go, they might get pulled to one side a bit. So it was a lot harder, and the guys who were kind of slowly letting the pressure into them were the guys that kind of succeeded overall. So Tom and Mitch struggled big time there. Then going into the Flintstone press, so a few things went on here. Reno dropped a lot of points here, which really helped out Tom and Mitch. Reno got the opening lift of 188 kilos. He then failed 200, which was the next one up. Then you had Mitch got as far as 230 kilos, which tied him with, what's his name, Pablo Cariaca. And then above him was Tom Stoltman and Trey Mitchell, tying at 241 kilos for the win. Now, the one thing I will say was they did go for the 252. Tom attempted the 252. He actually managed to lock it out. He just didn't have the stability to keep it in place, which is a real pity. But he was right there with the man. I remember watching the clip, and he was just like, he was up here, and the next thing it just went and down. It was just pity. He could have got the outright win there, but is what it is. But he picked up big points there. So then you had Mitch and Tom going into the last event with they were both on 36.5 points, I believe, and Reno O'Neill was on 39 points. So 2.5 points back from Reno. This meant that, logically, looking at it on paper, Tom is the best at Atlas Stones, hands down. As we said before, Tom plus Atlas Stones equals win. So you would naturally favour Tom to win. So that meant that Tom would need to win, and Reno would need to come 4th or lower in order for Tom to take the overall win. And like, realistically, looking at that on paper, it was near impossible to see Hooper winning overall, because like I'm not going to say he was never going to beat Tom in Atlas stones, but like there was a 99.99999999999% chance that he was not going to beat Tom on stones. So what ended up happening overall was Tom went out, did all 5 stones in the best time, so Tom took the win. Trey Mitchell got all 5 stones as well, the only 2 to get 5. Then Rain O'Neill was behind him with the fastest time for 4 stones, and I think Mitch was just behind him then. So overall, that meant that Rain O'Neill beat Tom Stoltman by half a point, and Mitch was back 2 or 3 points behind Tom. So for the winner of 2025 World's Strongest Man, we have Rain O'Neill, the first man, I believe, since 1997 to win on their debut. I believe the last person was Yuko Ahla. So it's been a long time since that happened, so it was a very, very special moment. And in fairness to Tom, he took it on the chin. He took it very well. He was actually delighted for Reno for taking the win. Just that moment, though, before they actually announced the winner, people weren't too sure of the points, and I wasn't too sure of it either. And I was just praying. I was like, 4 times, Tom, come on. And then, of course, they announced it, and Reno took the win. So small bit disappointed, but at the same time, I was happy for Reno. It was pretty cool coming in on his debut and, you know, doing that well. And I honestly think he's actually helping the sport to become more exciting now, because it's no longer a 2-horse race at Worlds. Like, if a guy comes in like that and beats Tom and Mitch, and like having some events where he has like a 7-point lead over Mitch as well, it's crazy. Like, that's absolutely crazy stuff. So yeah, I think Reno is going to get invited to a lot more big competitions in the future. Really looking forward to seeing how he gets on. I think his static strength isn't quite where it needs to be winning, let's say, like an Arnold's or a Strongest Man on Earth. Not miles off. I think his pressing is probably the biggest weakness. His deadlift is okay. So yeah, it's going to be really interesting to see how he gets on. But yeah, so aside from that, 2 people I want to discuss. Mitch Hooper, first of all. I did say that there was 3 possibilities going into this with Mitch Hooper with his recent controversies. So number 1 was that it wasn't going to affect him at all, and he'd just come in and do the business like he normally does. Number 2 was that he could come in and basically just like be enraged and use that to just wipe the floor with everyone and just give his all in every event. Or number 3 was that like he'd come in and be a little bit off his game. And unfortunately, it was option number 3, but it looks things. He was a small bit off his game, in fairness. Like, there were certain events where he should have been doing really well. Now, in fairness, Tom Stoltman was in fantastic shape. So there were things that even if he was on form, he still wouldn't be beating Tom. But like Flintstone press, I would have expected a little bit more from him there. I would have expected a 240. Hercules holds, I don't really think that was Mitch's fault as such. I think it was just set up, just kind of caught him off guard, caught a lot of guys off guard. You know, I caught like half the field completely off guard, weren't ready for it. What other ones did he kind of drop points? The deadlift, I was really surprised now. The deadlift for max and deadlift for reps, he seemed really kind of subpar on them 2 now. So like, yeah, there was just, I think he just wasn't switched on enough the way he normally would be, which is a bit of a pity to see. But look, these things happen, and it's opened up opportunities for other athletes to get through. So, you know, there's pros and cons to it. But then we had Tom Stoltman. I just want to have a minute here, right? Now, I know I'm a huge Stoltman fan anyway, right? But I just want to have a minute here just to talk about Tom Stoltman and the absolute animal that he is. This man goes out there, right? This is the best shape, both physically and mentally, I've ever seen Tom Stoltman in, right? To look at him, he's leaner than I've ever seen him before. He's stronger than I've ever seen him before. And his mindset coming into pretty much every event was rock solid. Like, he just like nearly never doubted himself. He was just on fire every event, giving it his all, just no holding back. Really excited to see that. And like with some of the events, like with the big man events, as I call them, you know, like the Atlas stones, the throwing events, Trying to think what other kind of big band events they had there as well. Atlas Stones and Throne events kind of being the main ones. Like there's just events there that as a larger athlete you should be doing better than the smaller guys. And Tom really was on those. Like he was really showing up and showing what he was capable of. So no, Tom looked in absolutely incredible shape. Really excited to see how he did on the day. Even though he only came second after all of it, after looking for that 4th title, it doesn't bother me in the slightest. Tom is looking amazing right now. Reno just caught himself a Mitch off guard because nobody was expecting Reno to do that good. People were saying he might be a bit of a dark horse. I was thinking with Reno, I was like, there's maybe like a 40% chance he makes the finals, but if he does, he's going to come 10th. He comes out and wins the thing. Like, he was just unbelievable athlete. Really excited to see how Tom Stockman does the rest of the year. I think the back pain that he had before, the sciatica towards the end of last year, I think himself and his new coach, Shane, have sorted that out. Shane, by the way, is fantastic coach. He got himself and Luke through to the finals yet again. And Luke and Tom look in the best shape they've ever been in. So, like, that's absolutely nuts, especially for Luke, who's, 40, 41 years of age, It's nuts, like, and he's making the finals and, like, really, like, showing up on some events here and there as well. So, yeah, that's really exciting stuff. I'm excited to see how Tom gets on in the Rogue, the Arnolds, Strongest Man on Earth this year as well. I think Tom has a really good season ahead of him. If he comes in that shape and that mindset, he will, like, there's so many comps he's going to win, and there's so many comps he's going to podium. I could see him starting a bit of a podium streak again now. So yeah, I'm really excited to see how Tom gets on. But yeah, guys, that's all for today. Really, that's all I want to discuss for Worlds. Really exciting event overall. Yeah, and hopefully we can see Evan Singleton back next year and in good shape, and hopefully Luke Richardson too. Luke Richardson is a little bit on the fence about coming back. Kind of wouldn't blame him given the amount of injuries he's had, so we'll have to wait and see there. Evan Singleton, I think, is definitely worth bringing back though, because that man, like, this year, I thought in my own head, he's physically capable of winning Worlds. He 100% is, and I'm gonna say it right now. I think he will do it someday. I think he will do it someday, and next year might just be his year. So let's hope that bicep heals up and the T-Rex comes back in full shape again. But so guys, that's the end of the video. So if you liked it, leave a like, leave a comment, subscribe, which should be either here or here somewhere, and watch a video if you want, which should also be either here or here somewhere. But yeah, guys, yeah, looking forward to the next few comps. So we'll see you later.
You are my fire, the one desire. Believe when I say I want it that way. Tell me why.
Ain't nothing but a heartache.
Tell me why.
Ain't nothing but a mistake.
Tell me why. I never wanna hear you say
I want it that way.
but we are two worlds apart. Can reach to your heart when you say I want it that way. Tell me why. Ain't nothing but a mistake. Tell me why. Ain't nothing but a mistake. Tell me why. Never wanna hear you say